Hello, welcome to Board Deck and Dice. Today I am going to try and do something different, and that is my top 100 games of all time, but it is dated from the end of 2018, so I've already played some great games this year that would have made the list. So without further ado, let's get into this. If I press this button, I believe oh, hang on. There we go. So, my number 100 is Reef. Now, Reef is a great kind of gateway style game. It gets a 7.3 on BGE, complexity of 1.84, and basically you are putting out these tokens here, these real nice plasticky tokens, onto the board using these cards. So the top part of the card there, if we zoom in, is a what coral you add to your reef, and the bottom part is potentially what you can score. It works really well, really simple, nice flow to the game, and I really like Reef. It comes from the same team who did Azul, same developers as that, same publishers, and generally gets some fairly good ratings here. There's 1-1. 3 ones, let's see. No one's put anything bad there. Don't even know what that means. Some dull game with no raison d'etre, no reason for being. Adds nothing to the generic Euro gameplay, has no life as a game system. Draw cards, place colour blocks, gain points for combinations. Oh, you place multicoloured reef pieces, like the Fisher-Price baby ring stacking toy. No player interaction, nothing new, no reason to replay. I think we'll do, Nick from Board Game Brawl used to read some of the negative comments, so we'll shove that in. So, Reef is my number 100. Let's go down and check out my 99, which is Telestrations. Has it changed on there? No, it hasn't. Are they all going to say Reef? What's going on? Let me see. Stand by. I went through and changed all these. Unbelievable. There we go. Telestrations is a party-style drawing game. Let's get the images up. I'll explain to you what happens. Yeah, so this is. Let's have a look. Hopefully these won't be rude. So each player gets a white pad of paper, whiteboards, and the first thing you'll do is write something down. So here it was movie reel. So the person, and then you pass the pad on to the next person. Everyone's doing it at the same time. So the next person looks at that picture that you've drawn, but not the first clue, and then they write down what they think the answer is. So this was movie reel, it became gym buddies, that gets passed on to the next person, which gets drawn, and this became ninjas on a boat, which then gets passed on to the next person, they draw it. Ninja turtles on a boat, I thought I said Turks, which would have been unfortunate. Ninja turtles on a boat, so then that gets drawn, and then that becomes pirate ship. It is just a hilarious game, works well with families, not very complex. You can go up to 8 players. In fact, the more players, the better. Let's see. Do not buy. They're just trying to make money on a public domain game. Eat, poop, you cat. All you need is 5 pencils, papers, and 4 friends. I mean, as far as critiques go, that's actually not too harsh. You could do it with paper. I think the way the pads are dry wipe and they do it all for you, and they give you there's some cards as well that you can do, so you don't have to make up your own ones, really does help. So yeah, that is Telestrations. Let's just move this over. Zap. So let's see this time if we can get this to work. And our next game is Pictomania. Interestingly, I've got 2 drawing games in a row. Number 98, Pictomania, and again a great party game. 1.52 complexity. That will be because the scoring is slightly more obtuse in this one. So in this game you will have a number of cards, I think 3 cards, up on a on a card rack. So this is obviously a much more complicated one. My one, the second edition, does not have all that stuff in. Let's see if we can find second edition pictures. And you will have A, B and C. So you'll have 3 cards, A, B and C, and from across these cards you'll be looking at, you'll all be given, here we go, you'll be given a, well, this is in foreign language, but never mind, it's the same thing. So you'll be given ABC in the English game, not symbols, and then 1 to 7. So you'll look at your number and your letter, and if I had B6, I would know that I'm drawing a T-shirt. And then when everyone's looked and worked out what they're drawing, because everyone have different ones, you all start drawing. As soon as you finish drawing, you turn your piece of paper around to everyone else and you start trying to guess. And obviously each person can't be drawing the same thing, so you're kind of trying to make a guess on what they're likely to be drawing, but the lists are done really cleverly so that you can see, have we got English here? Yeah, so these are all types of animals, and when people are drawing so fast, a sheep can look like a donkey, or a donkey can look like a horse for sure. So Pictomania, really fun party game, one that goes down really well with me and my crew. 97 is the fantastic bag building game, Automobiles. Now, I haven't played this an awful lot, but every time I have played it, I really, really enjoy it. In the game, you are controlling a car, but you're controlling this by drawing different coloured cubes from a bag, and you'll be adding to those cubes as you go along. They advise you to kind of mark it out with the cubes as you go. So if here we go. If the blue cubes let you go so far, if the blue, sorry, I've just read the comment from Simon Brass, which says your donkey can look like a horse. I think thank you is in order for that. Lovely comment. So you'll put the cubes ahead, and that's how far you're going, your intended route, how you work it out. Really good game. Amazing amount of variety in the game because, let me flip back to images, see if I can see all the different cards and stuff that you can add to it. So here you go. This is just one sample card layout that you can have, and you can change all the cards so the cubes mean different things depending on the cards that are out. Great racing game, great variety. I haven't yet checked out the expansion, but let's see, still some low ratings here, an average of 7.4, complexity of 2.4 out of 5, a 1 rating but no justification. Okay, 2, unplayable colourblind players, very bad indeed. I find it completely impossible even with significant assistance. Many pieces need to be swapped out for this to be fixed. Again, that's a fair comment, nothing too amusing there. It feels more like a race. Yeah, this does feel like a slow race. One of the poorest mixes of themes and mechanic I've seen. Not a race. Ah, okay, good, not a race. So we'll move on from not a race to my number 96, which is The Cousins' War. This is a great little 2-player game from Surprise Stair Games, and it's I'll show you the board here. I've got the second edition now, which just makes everything a bit bigger. But you're fighting over 3 areas on this board, and should you ever have complete control of all 3, you win. Otherwise, you go to the end of 5 rounds, and it's Lancashire versus Yorkshire. And the way the game works, this is all the components in the game, is you have these cards which you can use in a number of ways. You can use them through the command points to do kind of generic actions such as adding people to the board, adding your troops to the board, attempting to remove people from the board, but also, depending if you play on a certain round, you get a bonus action, or the other player will get a bonus action. So it's really interesting kind of weighing up the different cards that you might use. Also, the battle system is kind of reminiscent of Liar's Dice. You will roll your dice and you'll roll them and not show the other player, and you'll make a claim about what dice you have rolled. And then to beat that, they need to, either make a claim or accept it or challenge it. There's a lot of bluffing that goes on. Very much enjoy this one. Great two-player game. Small footprint. And the worst rating here is a 4. Let's see if they give any reason for this. I very like the card-driven head-to-head fight with cards giving possible actions to your opponents. The game itself is not that strong, but I'm looking forward in playing a more advanced game with this mechanism. Okay, seems a bit contradictory there with the old criticisms. So that is my number 96, The Cousins' War. Go on to 95, Caverna. Again, I haven't had much chance to play a lot of, hence it's further down on my list. However, there is just so many options in this. It's mind-blowing how many options there are, and I really like the element of being able to militarize your dwarfs so they can go off and do some kind of quests, which gets you loads of resources. And I like the more generous way of feeding any people that you have birthed into the world. Yes, it's a big game. Yes, it's going to take a while to play. 3.79 complexity rating, 210-minute max time, allegedly. But it is well worth doing. It's one of those games that when it says play with the simplified mode first, I often ignore those because I feel like I've played games a lot. No, I should play with a simplified mode till I get used to it on this. Let's see some... Oh, we've got a lot of 1 ratings on this. I came here because of all the people rating mature themed games like Kingdom Death Monster or Hate with a 1, just because of their mature theme, I assume that is. This game's theme is boring. Oh, you gotta love BGG. You have got to love BGG. Number 94 is Altiplano. Big fan of Orleans, not giving too much away there, but Altiplano is a bit like Orleans. You are doing more bag building like automobiles. Has this funky first player marker here, look. But there's more kind of movement in this game, so you'll be moving around these islands, building your bags. What I like over Orleans about Altiplano is that you actually have a discard pile. So in a normal deck building game, which bag building is kind of a take on deck building, you will discard cards and it will take a while for them to go back into your deck. So you're kind of thinning out your deck, knowing what you're getting. In Altiplano, you have this little tub here that you discard your tokens into, and then, sorry, I'm just reacting to a comment again. Simon, he always makes me chuckle, saying that, spoiler, Orleans is higher on the list. Maybe, maybe not, but maybe. So you have this little discard box, which really does add to the game. However, Orleans has a lot of expansions, which may or may not put it higher on my list. So there. Altiplano, let's have a look how it's ranked. So we have a 7.6, 3.32 complexity rating. Lots of comments here. Too much interaction. Limited resources and cards. The production of some goods is difficult or impossible. There's not very often I see too much interaction as a criticism. Let's go to 93. Vast, the Crystal Cabins. Great game. At this point, another spoiler, I don't think I'd played Root, not the final version anyway. Root, if I had played Root, Root would have been higher. I do prefer Root just But that doesn't take away from Vast the Crystal Caverns, which I also love. A highly asymmetrical game, which means that it plays completely differently depending on who you are. So if you're the dragon here, your goal is to wake up, yeah, and get out of the cave. The knight has to kill the dragon. The goblins have to impede the knight, I believe. Can't quite remember all the roles, but I really like Vast. It can be a difficult teach because you've got almost 4 or 5 games to teach depending on player count, but it is worth it. And if you get a group that have played it a few times, it's just an incredible amount of fun to pit yourself against the other players and try and specialise in a character. So Vast is very enjoyable for me. A 3.56 complexity rating and a 7.3 from the geeks at Board Game Geek. Let's have a look what we get. That one's good enough, isn't it? Meh. Not even going to rate it. Meh. Too long to teach a game with so many different gameplays. A perfect example of the worst of modern board games. Feminist fantasy teenage girl hero character. Crappy wood components. Lame cardboard standees. Poor artwork. It would be embarrassing to watch grown men play this game. Then I will happily make you an embarrassed man, because I love this game and I am allegedly a grown man. Okay, let's move on. Number 92, which was taught to me by Simon Brass, who may still be watching. He's probably gone. Targhee is Targi is a 2-player worker placement game that works. So during the course of the game, you'll have a grid laid out like, maybe this one shows it better, like this. So across the top and the bottom, all around are different spaces, and then in the middle is all the stuff that you want to claim and get. And you will place your workers on the outside spaces, and then when one crosses over with another, so horizontally and vertically, those are the areas where you can play your people to. It's very clever. It works really well, and all the games I've played have been really tight. I don't think anyone's... I think it's really close in the way the scores go. It was difficult to get, but there's been a reprint now, and I just think it's a fantastic game. I'm very, very thankful to Simon Brass for teaching me Targi, or Targhee. So we have 7.6 average rating, 2.3 in the complexity, and let's see what bad reviews we can conjure up. Like so many Euros, in the beginning you make some tactical decisions as you negotiate with your opponent which sets you're going to commit to, weighing competing with them against mutually exclusive specialisation, and then the cards you need to complete them may or may be available at the end. Right? I don't see any criticism there. Am I wrong? Is there criticism there? Doesn't seem to be. Technically viable, but lacks fun juice. Sorry, fun. Lacks fun or juice. Lacks fun or juice. No talking, no thinking, no everything. Hate the game. I'm sad. About the money. So, they're sad about the money. And lastly for today, number 91 is Mini Rails. This is a great stock and rails game with a really clever central mechanism. So this is what the board looks like. You don't have a player colour per se. You may have shares in the various rail companies, and these are rails, believe it or not. When you put them onto the board, if you put them on a white space with white dots, then you're going to increase everyone who has shares in that company on their little share trackers here by that many, and red dots decrease everyone who has shares by that many. What's really clever about mini rails is the way turn order works. So this is the start of the game here, because it's so neat. So black will go first and last. On their first go, they pick up one of these coloured cubes, and they then put their turn marker in its place. So that will then become the turn order for for the next turn. So if they take this blue one, they can put their black there and they know they will be first next time round. However, they might not want the blue one because of the way the board is going. Also, the leftover disc will move down to this track here, and they're the only ones that can score positively at the end. So there's lots to think about. On your go, you can only take 2 options. You can lay a train rail on the track, or you can take a stock. So that cylinder that you take, that disc, will either go on your stock at 0 or will go onto the board, and that gives you a lot of interaction with the other players. Really like mini rails. Again, it was hard to get at one point, but is a bit easier to get now. Plays in 30 minutes, 2.28 rating, and as people say, it condenses the 18xx formula down. I like this game quite a bit, and I enjoyed the core tension between pumping a company, timing your entry into a company, and trying to make sure that a company does or doesn't score at the end. The randomness in company draws is done in a more generally palatable way than German railways, since all the pieces will come out of the bag by the end and turn order is self-selected based on available options. Combined with a random map, it was a lot of fun. However, as the distillation of the Winsome principles, it gets lauded, as I can't say I prefer it over the Northern Pacific. I mean, lots of that didn't make sense to me, but I did understand pumping a company. So the selling point here is that it's a short, condensed stock market railroad game. I disagree. The abundance of negative value spaces here means that stock values will bounce all over the place, as opposed to the varying degrees of progression typically seen in other such games. I felt like most of the actions, not just mine, were ultimately inconsequential. Wrong. So there we go. We have made it to the end of my first section of Top 100 from 2018. We only have that many more to go. Spoilers, don't freeze frame to find out what will be next. But I'll do these every couple of days, and then I'll upload them onto YouTube as well. So thank you very much for watching. As I said, this only goes to the end of 2018, so none of the games I've played this year, like Batman, like Root, like whatever else I've played, none of them will appear on it, just so you know. But there's some pretty decent games on here, even if I do say to myself. And obviously, whenever Simon's here, he's going to be filling the comment section with his fun spoilers. Thanks very much for watching Board Deck and Dice. We will see you next time.